All righty. Good morning, everyone. It is 45 minutes after 9 o'clock on this Tuesday. Tuesday. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. Well, I don't have to say a whole lot into the intro here. You guys know why I'm here and why you're here watching right now. All right. So let's get right into it. And so here's what I'm going to do. We're getting new data that's constantly in. There's been some shifting here and there, some good, some bad, over the next 36 hours, especially. A lot to cover, though, no doubt, when it comes to the setup for any severe weather for today and tonight, and again as we head into your Wednesday. I'm not going to be able to spend a ton of time today, as much as I was hoping to spend with you guys, only because we may start to get first of our warnings in the area very soon. So I need to get back into the into the studio to get ready for that setup today. As always, I see your guys' questions that are on here. On our social media pages. Hello, DJ, Jeremy, Marianne. Hello to Cameron. I know, Cameron, you're always watching all the modeling as much as you possibly can. So I always appreciate that. So, yes, I will address your comment as well, as it is part of the setup here for today as we evolve. Okay, so let me begin first off with the current round that is developing here to our east. And I'll kind of get back you guys more to the back to the west and guide you guys more to the east here in just a second. All right, the alert day is in place today all the way through. We're really about, I would say, about midnight or so for your Wednesday night, early Thursday. This is a live look from Corydon looking west. Now, we've already had a few hints of sun. We've had a little bit of fog this morning. This is the actual cloud canopy of developing showers and soon-to-be thunderstorms between Corydon and Evansville that is taking place right now. No warnings I've seen yet on it, but they have issued special weather statements to prepare for what is lining up. All right, so we've got temperatures in the 60s and 70s. Again, very much a humid setup today. The clouds from these thunderstorms approaching from the west, though, will likely keep us mostly cloudy for a while today. Once they pass by, then we have a chance to break out in a little more of a partly sunny sky. And at that point, that's when we could get more coverage of showers and some thunderstorms. So this first little wave that's about to move in will move in, and then we should see a brief lull before we ramp back up once more. Rainfall graphics, sorry, some of the stuff from yesterday lived in the system, so let's get past it. All right, here is the line moving in. This is part of what came out of Texas and Oklahoma last night that has continued all night long when you've been asleep, and now it has arrived. Notice there are no warnings along this, but boy, quite a bit of lightning. And this is moving fast. And notice when I get rid of the clouds that we do have an additional line that is trying to form ahead of the actual main line that came out of Illinois. This is mainly because a mini cold front, if you will, kind of pushed in out, what we call an outflow or cold pooling to allow for new development. This is going to be aiming a little more along the actual warm front that's going to be passing through here today. So there's two different areas we're watching that I really don't see much happening with this particular batch when it comes to anything on the strong side, but it should stay at the same pace as the main line back here into Evansville, to where they will not exactly merge together until they get really east of 65. And when they get pulled backwards, if you will, then that is when they could merge together into a bigger line. But right now they're relatively separate in their appearance and in their impacts. So for those of you in Crawford County, Perry County, as well as Breckenridge County, all the way into Du Bois County, already getting lightning and thunder now that's moving in. Again, nothing severe being noted. This is the line, though, that is starting. It was weakening fairly quick and has really gotten stronger in the past 15, 20 minutes. Started working on getting the blog ready to go live about 9:05, 9:10, and everything kind of went crazy with me with some of the data coming in. I wanted to look at first. And in that process, in a 30, 45-minute process, this line has really begun to fire up. So it wouldn't surprise me that as this line gets closer to Tell City and eventually into Southwest Indiana, eventually into Grayson County, we could get a couple warnings out of that line as it approaches. And again, that's going to put us very close to the midday show in about an hour. So it's going to be an interesting show here today as it moves on by. No severe weather has been noted with this, but again, it is powering up to allow for that potential for some severe weather. Hold on one second, get rid of the spammer. We're going to have a lot of those the next few days, right? In Louisville, if we were to continue to track this to the east, the prefrontal band here should hold together. That will be in Louisville within about an hour or so, with some showers, rain and thunder coming through the area. The main line itself will likely be a little closer to about the 12 to 1 o'clock window. If it were to hold together, that's when it would arrive. This is more of a damaging wind threat here is what we're looking at as these move on to the east there. Quick wall of rain, wind, perhaps again a few severe thunderstorm warnings could get issued. Another weather service out of Evansville out of Paducah is watching it carefully. They've already issued a special weather statement on it, so there is a chance we could get a couple warnings out of that. Again, and it's moving into an environment too where we're starting to add in some fuel into the mix to allow for enough to keep them maintained as they're now moving into the warming process of the day, where most storms move in and they fade out and weekend. This one's moving in at weekend, all right, but now it's moving into a time of the day where we here in Wave Country are now warming up for our day. So it's moving in and trying to take advantage of that, and that's why that same exact line is trying to power back up. Again, there's that view looking from Corden there to the west. We'll be watching it. Lightning count on that, by the way, is now at 202 lightning strikes in the past 10 minutes alone along that line. So very intense lightning. It's going to get your attention. Don't see this weakening very much at all as it moves into even Louisville. So I do think it's going to be a noisy lunch hour today, and perhaps even a few warnings for mainly damaging winds, maybe some hail as it moves on by. This is going to be happening between now, again, the lunch hour as it moves through. A wider view shows this is it. I mean, this was the main line that was back to the west during the overnight. You can see it's already weakening on the northern side anyway. There's not as much action on it compared to what the portion on I-64 has on it. And that's the reason why we're beginning to heat things up. So that little line you saw there that is out in front of the prefrontal line, that is going to be the warm front that will eventually pull on this line of rain. It's hard to explain, and I'm going to try to draw it the best I can, but this line is going to look more like this. It's going to be very much tilted into Ohio with a few fading showers and storms into Kentucky, but the solid line portion of this is going to be more so angled across Ohio and Indiana. Once this passes by here and scoots by and passes I-65 this afternoon, we'll get a couple of hours of relative calm in the area, not a whole lot happening, but the atmosphere behind it is ready to go for more rounds of strong thunderstorms and severe weather and damaging severe weather potentially on the table. So here's the outlook. This was updated less than an hour ago from the Storm Prediction Center. They moved this last night into the enhanced risk, roughly along the Ohio River into Ohio, to account for a few parameters. I'll break these down one by one. So as far as the enhanced level goes, level 3 out of 5, it's just about everyone watching except for far southern areas. We got the hatched area for tornadoes, indicating that if we get any tornadoes that develop later this afternoon into the evening, they can become EF2 potential on their strength. That is going to be the exception rather than the rule. I mean, I do think there's going to be some tornado warnings getting issued here, but I don't know if I'll go to the level of this being a widespread EF2 type of setup. That may be a stretch here, but I do think there will be a few warnings for tornadoes issued this afternoon, and that's why we are in that hatched area. The straight line wind potential, it's there, but because they're more cellular much of the afternoon, they don't get linear until later on tonight. We don't have as much of a straight line wind threat as what we would have if they weren't cellular. But the cellular part, the downfall to that is you increase your tornado potential and you increase your damaging wind potential, because these thunderstorms don't like to compete. They like their own environment. They want their own apartment upstairs with a movie theater kind of thing. So they are not in the mood to share. So when they are stubborn like that and these cells end up becoming individualized, you will get more fuel being added into it and more impacts when it comes to damaging winds and isolated tornadoes. But straight line winds, that threat does tend to go down. It's not zero, but it goes down as much compared to the others because they're not organized and bumped into each other to form one big line. Not yet. I do think that will be an issue, though, tomorrow. Okay, so that's where we are on the outlooks today. Let's go through the modeling. Here we are. This is a model that I use as the HER. This updates every single hour. It's the best way to handle. If you're going to use a model, use one that's going to update every hour. Don't use one that's going to update every 4 to 6 hours. You're wasting your time. The weather is not going to wait for you 5 to 6 hours when it's an active radar in your area to update you guys to show you what's going to happen next. It's not feasible for meteorologists to use that. An hourly forecast model, that's fair. That's fair because you kind of see how things are aligned and the trend into the evening. But anything more that it updates longer than 1 hour, if you're a model watcher, I would not use it. All right, so it is showing about 12:30. We've got the line moving into the area with possibly some warnings at that time. You start to see a few of the hints there of where it's trying to turn in a little more into the warm front scenario as it quickly moves into Ohio and East Kentucky. It is interesting. I know you guys, I can't see it. Hold on, let me move this over. Okay, there we go. Few of these cells on the southeast side, because this is a relatively untouched, these are Tell-in Charlies. These can produce tornadoes as early as 3 o'clock today in southeast Kentucky. That's not here, though. But just want to mention, if you have friends or family there, this makes sense. These would be Tell-in Charlies. They would be attached to a warm front boundary to the north. You could very well get a little more of a tornado threat in southeast Kentucky there. All right, for us, notice here's our break that we're going to get. After this passes by, we get a couple hours break there, but we also have a couple of hours to heat up. Sun's going to come back out again, and then you see what happens. These smaller supercells, but they are supercells, they begin to pop on the radar around 3 o'clock. And they continue to move on through. Now, they don't look overly ominous. They look like little scattered downpours, right? But each individual supercell will have the potential for large hail, and each one of these will be rotating to the point where there could be a few tornado warnings issued this afternoon around dinner time. We could have a few of those warnings coming out. But you see how blotchy they are. They're not in all areas. So, if we were to use this verbatim, all right, E-Town would mean you would miss out. You wouldn't see anything, right? In fact, the sun's out in Marion County. But boy, if you're in Harrison County into areas around, say, Corden, you've got a supercell potentially in your backyard. Don't take the model verbatim on that idea, is what I'm trying to make a somewhat humorous approach on, is that it's very hard to pinpoint where those will be. All I can tell you is once we get past the warm front sweeping by for lunch today, we get a bit of heating. They're going to pop like pieces of popcorn. I mean, do you know when you pop popcorn in your popcorn bag in the microwave, you know exactly where the kernels are going to be when you open the bag up? You don't. You hear it happening, but you don't know where it is. Same or ideas, the atmosphere begins to pop the kernels, but we just don't know exactly where they're going to be at when you open the bag. Kind of really bad with analogies this week. But anyway, that is the setup that we'll be facing this afternoon. But we're not done. There is going to be a cold front that will then move in from the north. That is when it'll try to drop in of Indianapolis. It'll take all these supercells and scoop them up and then try at that point to form a line of thunderstorms that will then get a better organized look to it and then sweep down across Kentucky. Doesn't always connect all the way. Actually, there's two lines. Well, I'll tell you what, the models have shown 2 lines now for about 2 days that this would be the case. I can't argue against that because it's been consistent. There will be one line that will move quickly into southern Kentucky and then a straggler that will likely limit itself along the Ohio River. May not be as strong as the first line, but there will likely be 2 lines at that point of different cells congealed together, trying to organize. But once they organize, that means they're on their way out of town. And they're out of here, and we should get them completely out of here by the time we hit into about 3 in the morning. Now, here's what you're going to ask. You're going to say a comment on, boy, that's awful late. That's awful late. And you're right, later than I was really hoping to see on this, as far as everyone being on guard for severe weather. So it may take until about 2 o'clock or so in the morning, if not 3, to be completely given any kind of all clear on this particular event of severe weather. And it's only because we have the round here for midday. We get a nice little break for a couple of hours. Then we get these scattered popcorn supercells will form, each one capable of producing tornadoes, large hail. I mean, I'm talking very large hail, golf ball size or larger. So if you're able to keep the car covered this afternoon, I'd recommend it. And icy cases of damage you win, and icy cases of flash flooding. But they're going to be much more on the supercell form. We get to late evening, around the 11 o'clock news and midnight. Now we're going to switch things over to there will be lines of storms, potentially 2, that will form, sweep through north to south, and then we're done. But it's going to have to likely follow that storyline that I just laid out for you guys, with the first piece happening in about an hour. All right, so we get around, boom, 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 all the way through about 3 o'clock in the morning. All right, so let me show you how the chances look on this. I'll try to account for this based on the trends. Ignore the first 3 hours. We're past that. Going with severe potential right out of the gate as that line approaches us here between 11 and 12. There's the brief lull that'll happen, and then we'll get back into the spotty cells that will evolve later on. Here is a look at some of the numbers on the same model I just showed you, but looking at it in numerical form. I know a lot of you guys like looking at this, pointing out a few things. First off, a lot of you always ask about CAPE, right? The fuel. I'm not going to get into much on the explanation of it all, but you get the idea. The CAPE is up there over 3,500 at times as we head into this afternoon and this evening. Your cell number here, see where it's got cell, it's got a number. You basically add a 0 to this, and the scale is 400. So the highest I see is a 14 at 9 o'clock tonight. Add a 0, that's 140. That's 140 out of 400 is your potential wind damage, or not really wind damage, potential for a very strong updraft, producing potentially a tornado, and that has it at 10 p.m. tonight. But we still have this afternoon several 30, 40s, and 60s that are showing up, not to be ignored, right? So we need to watch that. The significant tornado parameter, which goes to a 10. We've got a 1, a 2 this afternoon, and a couple 1s and 2s this evening. So they're elevated, but they're not overly high, and certainly can be higher. So both of these values tell me that there is going to be at least some tornado potential for sure out of this, based on what I'm seeing here. Okay. A lot of dew points up there in the 70s. Another indicator, you're going to have very low bases on these clouds, allowing for anything to spin. Even a quick tornado won't have far to go to drop out of the cloud, and boom, it's already at the ground level because it's going to be so humid. So that also tells me why there's going to be more of a tornado potential here, as well as large hail. All right. So that is the setup for today, as far as getting between now and about 2 o'clock in the morning. If you are okay on this, please type 1. Just let me know. Let's be simple on this today. Let me know your understanding how this is going to play out on timeline. And I got to slide over. You understand what's going to happen on timeline, and you understand the impacts as they stand now. And you got to understand that in some cases here, you're probably going to, still get missed. I mean, not everyone's going to get hit, right? All right. Everyone looks good? All right. Good, good, good. All right. Everything looks fine there. Okay. So, yeah. And Amanda, this is or is it Nicole? Sorry, it was Nicole. This is just a numerical form of looking at the data. For some people have more of that mindset. They have to look at numbers to see something in a weather setup, especially. I'm a left-handed guy to begin with, which I think that means we're always, we're always out of our right mind, or we're always in the right mind. I always get it backwards. Anyway, but I'm very visually based. That's how I've been since a kid. I've never been good with numbers, but when it comes to a visual sense and looking at a map and seeing a storyline to it, I've always been able to do that as a kid. That's why I love playing Mario Paint so much. Anyway, so the maps, I do better with maps. But I get why some people love that kind of data too on the side. So at least want to share it with you all. All right, let's move on. Here again is the current radar. We're watching it. Still no warnings or anything. Still looks the same. No change. All right, so let's get into the outlook for tomorrow. And this is where we've got the enhanced risk that has not changed any in our area. Overall, on the weather map side of things, it has shifted a tad more south, a little further away from Indiana, a little further away from Ohio. Still, though, encompasses our area into wave country. And again, that's a level 3 out of 5. Breaking that threat down, let's start with the tornado threat. It is hatched for tornadoes, but noticed we are not. In Louisville, anyway, and Indiana, central Indiana, and east central Kentucky are not in the hatched area. And you're like, wait a minute, what's going on there? I'll explain. You look at your straight line wind potential. That, I think, is going to get a hatched area later today. This updates. Let's see. This is tomorrow. This will be updated at 1:30. Your hail potential, yeah, it looks like jail. we're all in weather jail. But anyway, it is hatched for tomorrow for, once again, large hailstones that can develop. But I think the straight line three will get a hatched area too in future updates. So what's the deal with Wednesday? Wednesday is a little different. First off, it's 9 a.m. on this model here for Wednesday. It's 10 a.m. now, and I just showed you the radar, and we have a line of showers and storms moving in from Evansville heading our way. We do not have that for Wednesday. The only weather hindrance is going to be either cloud cover or fog that'll be in the area that would try to block the morning sun. I don't think that's going to be a huge concern, though. I think we're going to go mostly sunny. I think we're going to begin to heat things up. Here comes the warm front. It's another warm front. These are separate systems we're looking at. So one gives us a warm front now. It's going to give us the cold front this evening. Then it's gone. And then tomorrow we have very little rest. Here comes the next warm front that is already showing up in West Kentucky. This is a little slower, so this is not moving in at midday. This is not going to move in until about mid-afternoon tomorrow. Now, let me move this over for a second because this happens real fast. As the warm front moves north, you're going to get supercells that are going to form right along that. And this would include Louisville. You're going to get a tornado threat as it moves by. We're thinking that's going to be in that 3 to 5 window that warm front moves through. Now, if the warm front were to stall and say it doesn't get all the way to Louisville or to Cincinnati, that would absolutely keep the severe threat limited to areas south and west of Louisville, perhaps for the entire event. That is possible in that idea. But so far, I am seeing still a fairly strong signal that the warm front is going to be able to get through. There are some models that have eased back on it, no doubt, in the past 12 hours. But there's more that are for it moving north and east than against it. But that's something we'll just have to watch tomorrow, right at about this time in the vlog. See what's happening. Where is the warm front? Is it on the move, or do we see signs it's about to stall? That will completely tell us how the rest of the day is going to go. But at this point, all I got is data on paper. So this is how it's looking. Warm front gets in the area. Showers, thunderstorms, isolated tornadoes. But we don't stay in that zone for very long. We quickly evolve to a very active setup on the southern flank of clusters of showers and storms and supercells for those of you near and south of the parkways. So Bardstown, E-Town, all the way down into Adair County. Really be ready for what could be a very active evening for damaging, not only winds, but damaging tornadoes that can develop as we head into the Wednesday evening time period. That quickly races on by. We have another chance at maybe another wave that could have some heavy rain or some strong winds with it. But right now, that too is showing a sign of more of keeping the straight line wind threat with that second little piece that moves in late evening, maybe into central Kentucky, but more likely in Nashville and the rowdy here. And then it's just a wave of heavy rainfall. So if we were to go by this particular model, which was the HER, and its idea of a slower warm front, that would bode better news for Louisville, Frankfort, and a good chunk of Southern Indiana on missing out perhaps on some of the larger supercells that will produce tornadoes, but it would not eliminate it from everyone watching. If you're close to Louisville, central Kentucky, and West Kentucky especially, you would still be very much in that zone. But here's where I'm going to have to issue my caution. This is just one model's idea. What if it updates here in a few hours, and when it updates, it suddenly pushes the warm front all the way to Cincinnati again? We're back into the supercell tornado threat, right? So the warm front position is not locked in, but at least it's not as consistent every single run showing it in here as it was yesterday. There's at least some hope here that maybe we can stall that warm front down, which is like the locomotive or the train tracks that the locomotive would track on. Maybe we can keep that a little more focused south. I hope so. I really hope so, because it's already going to be busy today. 2 days of this is really going to put us through it, right? Especially if we get any kind of damage today. Folks that need to try to get in their homes and try to get anything cleaned up today, you can't do it because you're under the constant threat tomorrow. So it's just we just really hope this tries to improve. But that's the way it's looking to me. Is I think we need to acknowledge that the warm front issue and its placement is absolute key on how things play out for Wednesday. Absolutely key. And we're not going to know until tomorrow morning. So that's frustrating, but I don't control the weather. We got to deal with the data we're given there. As far as the severe window on time period, we'll give it the same. Warm front arrives roughly around 3 o'clock. And then eventually, once we get several boundaries through here and push all this into Tennessee, we should be out of this by 10, 11 o'clock. So that's good. So it's really just an afternoon and evening period that we are watching on that. So that's it. Those are the 2 rounds. You're going to probably ask maybe about rain totals and all that. I don't know yet, but I do. It's obvious that this kind of a setup, so many moving waves of thunderstorms passing through, you're going to get, in some cases, a 4-inch rain total, if not higher in a few areas. So be weather aware for sure. All right, so let's see. Audrey, hate severe weather tomorrow has me really nervous. Radcliffe and E-Town, I get it, totally get it, especially when the warm front, if the warm front stalls near you in Hardin County, then you'll be in that tornado zone in the afternoon. So I totally understand that. So while it could be good news for some, it's not good news for all of you watching, because all of our friends are family. I mean, we've got 33 counties that we are responsible for here on our team. And so we're trying to balance out the emotions of what some of those 33 counties will be facing and what some better news others may be facing. But in general, we're all together. We're all one family here, guys. All right. So we're all got to work together on this. And let's hope everything flies out well. If everything made sense on the Wednesday challenges with the warm front and how the supercells would form on it, and eventually the additional waves of rain and thunder moving through, please type 2. If you understand that, please type 2, so I know where you guys stand on this, and are somewhat, or at least I'm somewhat clear. Okay. Ashley, it's still not an overnight event. That second wave, if the warm front were to go all the way north, Ashley, then that second wave Wednesday evening would indeed carry us past, I would say, closer, if not to the midnight hour. But honestly, the stuff tonight has a better opportunity to cross to 1 to 3 a.m. than the stuff tomorrow night does. So, because everything's so aggressive tomorrow night in its dynamics that it won't take long to get this into Tennessee. It won't take long at all. Okay. Everything seems good. Let's see. Are these storms weakening as approach Indiana today, May? No, they're not strong, but they are not weakening. So they're maintaining. And because they're maintaining, I think we need to be weather aware that there could be a warnings even in Louisville and Southern Indiana over the next couple of hours, mainly for hail and maybe a straight line wind threat out of that. Okay, I got to run here a second because I need to keep an eye on those storms and get ready for the show. I just wanted to jump in here, let you know where we're at now. Don't focus on the outlooks. We may mention the outlooks one more time, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. But don't focus on, are we going to get upgraded to a moderate? Are we going to upgrade to high? To be honest, I'm not going to be looking at them as much at all either, because they just don't matter at this point. We got better things and more significant things we need to be looking at now that the storm system is here. That's going to keep us busy. We're going to have to, as a weather team, every hour we are having discussions. The way we sit with our chairs, we're going to be having discussions every hour. What do you got now? What do you see now? What's the trend? We compare it to the last few hours and look at future casts and say, do they line up, or are we seeing a trend here? Something off track? Is everything on track? All those discussions happen continuously over the next 36 hours. Trust me, it's a very boring conversation. You don't want to be in the room. But that's how we handle these scenarios. And that's the only way to do it, because you can't really pay attention to outlooks. You can't get too bogged down on a lot of future cast models that go way out, because that'll just get you in trouble. All right. The data is too old and won't matter. I do need your help. I need you all to keep checking back in with the forecast. If you have the ability to take any pictures of hail today, video of hail, turn your phone sideways, or any type of wind damage we get, when it's safe to do so, let us know on the Wave Weather app. There's a submit your photos button. You'll see, hit that, fill it out as detailed as you can. And if you don't want to put your address on, totally understand, but give us the general neighborhood. And that way, when we get those relayed on to the Weather Service, they get them, and then they match the radar data up to confirm whether or not that could have been a tornado, whether the case be, or large hail. More importantly, we see them, and say, for example, you're in Harrison County, you submit us a report, it pops in, and Louisville is next. Then we can say, Louisville, get ready. We now have confirmation that this is producing, golf ball size tail and wind damage. We have confirmation based on your friends and viewers here in the area are helping each other out. So now that we see images coming in and videos coming in, please get ready. And so again, it really does help. It helps you guys be part of this storm spotting team. So I just know that is an option to you guys, and it is a very helpful tool. So we really do appreciate it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and jump off for now. I'm sorry that it's I got to run real quickly. Margaret, is there a weather service conference call? Yes, we do have one. Weather service has a call today with the media at 1 o'clock. And we're going to be talking to our staff not long after that. So to make sure everyone's fully up to speed on this. All right, let's hope we get through this all right. The next few hours is going to be a bit busy for us. So let's hang tight. I'll be on the air here shortly on the TV side. And if we get any wild warnings that do indeed come out, I'll be staying on with you guys through the afternoon. Take care, guys. I appreciate it. Stay out of trouble. Don't get arrested. And obviously just stay close to the weather forecast. Okay. See you on the flip side.